serving the Republic of the Philippines for more than 75 years. Ito po ang Presidential Broadcast Service.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang, and here are the news. With the help of Congress approval of the proposed 2024 national budget, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is optimistic that the administration will be able to attain its agenda for prosperity that will allow the country to secure a future-proof and sustainable economy. The 5.768 trillion pesos proposed national budget or the National Expenditure Program or NEP for fiscal year 2024 was already submitted to the House of Representatives on Wednesday. The proposed budget is equivalent to 21.7% of the country's gross domestic product or GDP and 9.5% higher than the fiscal year 2023 General Appropriations Act or GAA, which amounted to 5.268 trillion pesos. In his 46-page budget message addressed to the leaders of both houses of Congress and the members of the 19th Congress, President Marcos said that the proposed budget will fund the administration's continuing pursuit of the Plan for Economic Transformation as embodied in the Philippine Development Plan or PDP for 2023 to 2028. The chief executive said that this long-term vision of prosperity for the country will be achieved by protecting the purchasing power of the public and enhancing the production sectors to generate more quality jobs and competitive products, supported by macroeconomic stability, infrastructure development, bureaucratic efficiency, strong rule of law, and effective climate action. Furthermore, the president stated that the proposed 5.768 trillion pesos national budget for 2024 is guided by the government's 8-point socio-economic agenda with a huge allotment to the priority sectors in the national government geared towards boosting not only the economy but also the people's health, education, and welfare. The education sector continues to receive the highest allocation with 924.7 billion. As part of the president's commitment to invest in human capital development and youth empowerment, the development in the food and water security sector will be supported by, among others, 40.9 billion pesos for various programs to enhance the rice production, 12.5 billion pesos for the development of other agricultural commodities, and more than 7 billion pesos to improve agri-fishery products, competitiveness, and further boost the income of Filipino farmers and fisher folks. More than 2 billion pesos will be spent for agriculture-related research and development projects, while 53.4 billion pesos will be allocated for agricultural infrastructure development. The administration's Build Better More program will receive a total of 1.418 trillion pesos, spearheaded by the Department of Transportation and the Department of Public Works and Highways, with their allocations of 214.3 billion pesos and 822.2 billion pesos respectively. The health sector will receive 306.1 billion pesos, with 23 billion pesos allocated for the Health Facilities Enhancement Program or HFEP, 101.5 billion for PhilHealth services, and 22.3 billion pesos for the medical assistance to indigent and financially incapacitated patients, among others. Allocations to local government units or LGUs will amount to 1.8 trillion pesos, which is 17.5% of the proposed budget next year. Of this figure, 80.6 billion pesos is the block grant to the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or BARM, while 1 billion pesos has also been set aside for the Marawi Siege Victims Compensation Program. The labor and employment sector will receive 40.4 billion pesos, President with the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE receiving a budget of 16.4 billion pesos for its Livelihood and Emergency Employment Program, specifically TUPAD, which is 12.9 billion pesos and 2.3 billion pesos. On the other hand, the Department of Migrant Workers or DMW has a total budget of 15.5 billion pesos. In anticipation of the worsening effects of the global inflation, the Department of Social Welfare and Development's Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program will receive 112.8 billion pesos to cover education and health grants on top of rice subsidies benefiting an estimated 4.4 million households. The President's budget message also highlighted the administration's climate agenda to make future-proofing a top priority and help address climate change. The allocation for this purpose was increased further from 464.5 billion pesos for fiscal year 2023 to 543.4 billion pesos. Of this amount, a total of 168.6 billion pesos was allotted for mitigation efforts, while 374.9 billion pesos will be for climate adaptation. President Marcos also emphasized that affordable and clean energy, the housing sector, digitalization, the ease of doing business, and bureaucratic efficiency are among the administration's priorities under the 2024 proposed national budget.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. in his 2024 budget message to Congress said the government has to do more in the next 5 years by building on all its initial gains to push for effective and transformative development initiatives. According to the President, the government confronted strong headwinds in its path towards economic recovery last year, among which was inflation, which prompted the economic managers to formulate the Medium-Term Fiscal Framework or MTFF to strategically address those issues. Supported by the two houses of Congress, the MTFF now serves as the bedrock of the administration's plan for economic transformation, with the initial result inspiring confidence to relentlessly pursue the nation's aspiration of peace and progress. President Marcos said that the MTFF lays down clear, measurable, and realistic macroeconomic and fiscal targets. These include 6.5 to 8% gross domestic product or GDP growth annually between 2023 to 2028, 9% or a single-digit poverty rate by 2028, and 3% national government deficit to GDP ratio by 2028. Also part of the measure is attaining less than 60% national government debt to GDP ratio by 2025 and at least $4,256 gross national income or GNI per capita, or the attainment of upper middle income status by 2025. The 5.768 trillion pesos proposed national budget is equivalent to 21.7% of GDP and 9.5% higher than the fiscal year 2023 General Appropriations Act or GAA amounting 5.268 trillion pesos. The proposed budget seeks to provide the necessary funds for the operations of government and for the continuing pursuit of the plan for economic transformation as embodied in the Philippine Development Plan or PDP for 2023 to 2028. The Philippine Department of Budget and Management or DBM also said this week that the proposed 2024 national budget aims to strengthen the public's purchasing power amid rising fuel prices and in the aftermath of recent calamities. The 2024 budget seeks increased funding for agriculture and agrarian reform, along with other related agencies under the Department of Agriculture or DA, reducing logistics and transport costs, funding renewable energy initiatives, and widening social protection coverage. The president also mentioned in his budget message that, as framed by the administration's 8-point socio-economic agenda, the Philippine Development Plan or PDP for 2023 to 2028 essentially aims to achieve the country's long-term vision through two-pronged strategies of strengthening the capabilities and protecting the purchasing power of the people, as well as enhancing the production sectors to generate quality jobs and competitive products. In turn, these strategies are to be supported by an enabling environment characterized by macroeconomic stability, infrastructure development, bureaucratic efficiency, strong rule of law, and effective climate action, the chief executive said. Expressing optimism about the country's transformative journey, the Bagong Pilipinas, President Marcos said, "The journey has just begun and we will continue to work closely with the private sector and other branches of government, especially with Congress, for the vital pieces of legislation that are needed along the way." And he added that we will march on one nation, one people, building a better future together.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Marcos government is rolling out next month the Lifeline Rate Program that will benefit qualified low-income households to help them pay their electricity bills. The Lifeline rate is a subsidized rate given to qualified low-income electricity customers who are unable to pay their electricity bills at full cost. Among the households who can apply for the Lifeline Rate Program are the beneficiaries of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program or 4Ps, are customers considered to be living below the poverty threshold set by the Philippine Statistics Authority or PSA. Only one distribution utility or DU, electric cooperative or EC service per qualified household can be granted a Lifeline rate. In case there are more than one beneficiaries to apply for the Lifeline rate from the same household using the same service account, only one application will be granted with Lifeline rate while the remaining application will be disapproved. Qualified beneficiaries may apply by submitting to the DU and EC their duly accomplished Lifeline Rate application form, their most recent electricity bill, and any valid government-issued identification card or ID containing the signature and address of the customer. If the customer is living below the poverty threshold set by the PSA, he or she must submit a certification from the local Social Welfare and Development Office or SWDO issued within the last 6 months showing that his or her family income is below the poverty threshold applicable at the time of his or her application. The power reduction rate varies depending on the prevailing rates of the DUs or ECs. In the Meralco franchise area, Lifeline end users with 0 to 20 kilowatt hours of monthly consumption will be granted a 100% discount on the generation charges, including system loss, transmission, and distribution components of their bill, except for the fixed metering charge of 5 pesos, which means more or less only 20 pesos from their electric bills will be paid. If they do not avail themselves of the Lifeline rate through Meralco, they will have to shell out more or less 250 pesos. Customers with 21 to 50 kilowatt per hour usage who apply for Lifeline rate will only pay more or less 300 pesos in their electric bills. Otherwise, they will have to pay the undiscounted amount of around 550 pesos if they do not apply for the Lifeline rate. Those with a 51 to 70 kilowatt per hour consumption bracket and apply for Lifeline rate will only be paying around 522 pesos and 90 centavos, but will pay the undiscounted rate of 763 pesos and 37 centavos if they do not apply for the Lifeline rate. Those with 71 to 100 kilowatt per hour usage and apply for Lifeline rate will only pay 904 pesos 21 centavos, but will pay the undiscounted rate of 99 pesos and 10 centavos if they do not apply for the Lifeline rate. The program rollout has been moved to September 2023 to give qualified customers more time to register. Based on the date provided by the Energy Regulatory Commission or ERC as of end July 2023, there are only 12,829 household beneficiaries of 4Ps. Out of the 4.2 million household members which have applied for the Lifeline Rate Program. Lifeline Rate Program validity is based on the annual certified list of 4Ps beneficiaries provided by DSWD. A qualified customer is eligible to receive the Lifeline rate if he or she remains in the updated list. If delisted, the customer may opt to apply for a local SWDO certification if he or she is living below the poverty line and may reapply for Lifeline rate. For non-4Ps beneficiaries, Lifeline rate will have a 3-year validity from the date of issuance of certification by the local SWDO.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will continue to carry out the commitments under the Bangsamoro Peace Agreement as the government eyes to finish all decommissioning efforts for former Moro Islamic Liberation Front or MILF combatants before 2025. In a news briefing, Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process or on the Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity or OPAPRU, Director Wendell Orbeso thanked the President for making the policy as part of his priority peace legacy agenda. Orbeso reported that the commitments under the peace process are doing well with the resumption of the Phase 3 decommissioning process, which took place in Sultan Kudarat, Maguindanao last Thursday, August 3rd. The decommissioning process is one of the key provisions of the Annex on Normalization of the Comprehensive Agreement in the Bangsamoro or CAB. A total of 1,301 soldiers from the Moro Islamic Liberation Front or Bangsamoro Islamic Armed Forces or MILF BIAF completed the decommissioning process. This raises the overall number of decommissioned combatants to 26,145 since the process began on November 8, 2021. The decommissioning Phase 3 will continue until August 10. The OPAPRA targets the decommission a total of 40,000 combatants before the start of the election period in 2025 according to Orbeso. They are eyeing to commence Phase 4 of the decommissioning for 14,000 former MILF combatants within the year to stay on track with the goal. The Bangsamoro peace process was settled in 2017 with the signing of the Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro or CAB, the passing of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, and the plebiscite in 2019. Orbeso expressed optimism that an exit agreement will be signed by 2025 once all commitments are fulfilled.
Dateline Malacañang.
A social welfare official on Saturday reported that the government and its partners have so far released 275 million pesos to families affected by recent calamities, particularly Super Typhoon Egay and the southwest monsoon. Social Welfare Director Michael Christopher Mathay in a news forum in Quezon City said these are standby funds and quick response funds. The stockpile cost is around 1.8 billion pesos, Mathay said, noting that there are more than 3.2 million affected persons in 5,000 plus barangays. He said the regions which receive the assistance include Ilocos, Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Bicol, Western, Eastern, and Central Visayas, Davao Region, Soxargen, and Car. On damaged shelters, the DSWD official said that there are more than 64,000 damaged houses, of which 3,000 plus were totally damaged and 60,000 plus were partially damaged. The total cost of DSWD's humanitarian assistance provided to survivors reached more than 224 million pesos. This is in addition to the aid extended by the local government units or LGUs, which amounts to 48 million pesos plus, and non-government organizations or NGOs amounting more than 139,000 pesos. Aside from the family food packs, Mathay said the DSWD is also extending emergency cash transfers to those affected by the calamity so they could buy other necessities such as medicine. The agency is also providing psychosocial support to persons and families affected by disaster under DSWD's Management Camp Coordination Program and different evacuation centers.
Dateline Malacañang.
Recognizing the vital role of communication and information in nation building, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has issued a proclamation declaring the month of October of every year as Communications Month and every 11th of the month as the anniversary of the Philippine Presidential Communications Office or PCO. In a two-page proclamation number 308 signed by Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin on August 2nd, President Marcos underscored the vital role of communication in engaging and involving citizenry and the media industry in enriching the quality of public discourse on all matters of governance. With his proclamation, the President said a PCO will lead the observance of Communications Month and its anniversary as he tasked the agency to identify programs, projects, and activities for the annual celebration. President Marcos also urged all agencies, government-owned or controlled corporations, state universities and colleges, all government units, non-government organizations, and private sectors to join and support the PCO in observance of Communications Month and its anniversary. Under Executive Order Number 11 and Executive Order Number 16 Series of 2023, the PCO is responsible for the crafting, formulation, development, enhancement, and coordination of the messaging system of the executive branch and the Office of the President.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, said the Philippines and Laos are seeking to expand bilateral cooperation with a future agreement on basic education. Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo said the two nations are finalizing the deal, noting that both are in agreement investing in education is investing in the future. The DFA has yet to provide details on the coverage of the deal, but it will follow the 2017 signing of Philippine-Lao Academic Cooperation in higher education. Cooperation on education vital for the Philippine-Lao ties. To date, the largest group of Philippine nationals in Laos is in the education sector. Manila is also working with Vientiane on the promotion of girl-child's rights, which Laos advocates through the NOI program, which provides a platform for partners to address the challenges Lao girls face in education, sexual and reproductive health, and nutrition, among others. Aside from education, the Philippines has been a strong supporter of Laos' pursuit of sustainable and inclusive development. As the two states celebrate 68 years of diplomatic ties this year, Manalo hopes for stronger bilateral cooperation with the Southeast Asian nations, specifically in ensuring food security. He also sees the potential for deeper engagement in the area of renewable energy and infrastructure. In addition, Manalo said agreements in agri-fishery and forestry cooperation, including those involving centers for education, offer rich potentials to achieve higher and greater agricultural growth and productivity. Manalo is in Vientiane this week to co-chair the second meeting of the Philippines-Lao Joint Commission for Bilateral Cooperation with Foreign Ministry, Silmaxi Comasif.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, said the government will undertake a cumulative impact assessment on the ongoing Manila Bay reclamation projects as the United States Embassy in Manila expressed concerns about its potential effects on the environment. DFA spokesperson Maria Teresita Daza acknowledged the concerns raised and made an assurance that the agency is fully committed to the safety and well-being of embassies and consulates in the Philippines. Daza said the DNR is also looking into the compliance of the projects with the condition of their permits, as well as with existing environmental laws and regulations. U.S. Embassy spokesperson Kanishka Gangkhopadhyay on Wednesday said the embassy is discussing with the government the project's potential negative long-term and irreversible impacts to the environment, the resilience to natural hazards of Manila and nearby areas, and to commerce. He also raised concerns over the project's ties to the China Communications Construction Company, or CCCC, which he said is included in the U.S. Department of Commerce entity list for its role in helping the Chinese military construct and militarize artificial islands in the South China Sea. CCCC subsidiary China Harbor Engineering Company Limited is currently undertaking the Reclamation Development Project at Manila Bay, about 5 kilometers from downtown Manila and Ninoy Aquino International Airport. The project includes backfilling to form 3 artificial islands and related supporting revetment structures and foundation treatment, according to CCCC website.
Dateline Malacañang.
South Korea is allocating $9 million or approximately 501 million pesos in grants to help the Philippines and Timor-Leste combat marine plastic pollution. The project will be implemented in coastal communities in Bulan, Sorsogon, Daan Bantay, Cebu, Calbayog City, Samar, Dipolog City, Zamboanga del Norte, Puerto Princesa, Palawan, and Tandag City, Surigao del Sur. 4 other coastal communities, meanwhile, will benefit in Timor-Leste. The Reducing Marine Plastics in the East Asian Seas region initiative will run for 6 years to improve the management of marine plastics in the 2 countries through science-based governance, innovative solutions to promote circular economy, regular beach monitoring on marine plastics, relevant training, and community awareness drive. The MOF partners with partnerships in environmental management for Seas of East Asia, or PAMC, a regional coordinating mechanism for the sustainable development of coastal and marine resources in the region, to implement the project. The program is also in collaboration with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources and its relevant bureaus. According to PAMC, the Philippines is considered as one of the top 5 contributors to marine plastic pollution globally, while Timor-Leste is facing challenges in managing its wastes and plastics due to poor infrastructure and challenging geography. In 2019, ASEAN adopted the Bangkok Declaration on Combating Marine Debris in ASEAN region and the ASEAN Framework of Action on Marine Debris, aiming to reduce marine debris in the region by 75% in year 2025.
Dateline Malacañang.
Finally, for Dateline Malacañang, the Philippines and South Korea will work together to boost the former's capacity in monitoring and crafting plans and policies concerning air quality. On Friday, the Philippine Space Agency announced that it has inked partnership with the Korea International Cooperation Agency, or COICA, for the Pan-Asia Partnership for Geospatial Air Pollution Information and the Pandora Asia Network, or PABGAPI-PAN project. This involves technology transfer, data sharing, and capacity building initiative on air pollution using data from the Geostationary Environment Monitoring Spectrometer, or GEMS, aboard Korea's GeoCommSat-2B satellite, complemented by ground-based remote sensing instruments called Pandora. GEMS is reportedly the world's first geostationary satellite sensor for air quality monitoring, enabling hourly monitoring of air pollution levels in the almost 20 countries in Asia, including the Philippines. PABGAPI-PAN will enable PhilSA to combine satellite and ground measurement for a comprehensive overview of air quality in the country. Earlier, PhilSA Director General Joel Marciano said Through remote sensing technologies and ground validation techniques, trends such as air quality patterns and environmental characteristics such as climate change, vulnerabilities will be properly accounted for, described, analyzed to inform decision on climate change mitigation and adaptation programs, and in disaster risk response and management council or management efforts. Pandora instruments will be installed in the country within the year. This will provide real-time standardized, calibrated, and verified air quality data and help to craft more evidence-based policies to address air quality issues. COICA and PhilSA will provide technical and operational support, implement the project in the identified sites, which are Puerto Princesa, Palawan, Manila Observatory in Quezon City, and Metro Manila. The proposed Pandora sites were selected considering different concentrations of air pollutants such as nitrogen dioxide and particulate matter across the country based on historical records, both from ground and satellite observations. Meteorological parameters such as rainfall and cloud cover are also considered in the selection process. Other potential sites are Ilocos Norte and Cebu City, according to PhilSA. The ground vertical column measurement of air pollutants from Pandora will be used in conjunction with the GEMS observation for comprehensive and improving monitoring of air quality across the country and the Asia-Pacific region. GEMS will provide measurements of different air pollutants such as nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, ozone, formaldehyde, and particulate matter at an hourly rate during daytime, PhilSA said. Meanwhile, COICA Country Director Kim Yun-sub said the project will highlight the substantial contribution of space science and technology applications in the Philippines' socio-economic development. The $230,000 equivalent to 12.6 million Philippine peso project is a collaboration among the PhilSA, COICA, the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific or UNESCAP, Korea National Institute and Environmental Research or NIER, and Korea Environment Cooperation. It is expected to contribute to further enhance the strong and dynamic relationship between the two countries through the sharing of satellite air quality data, GEMS data application and technology, and joint research.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that is all for today's Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Bea Gaza.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.